I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Oh no, Sam Cedar! What a fucking nightmare!
There's insanity in the control room.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Monday. Oh God, it's Monday again. So, all right. So, first of all, we're gonna have a great show. Second of all, thank you TYT for the massive raid of 196. Welcome everybody. We're just getting the show started. We're going to have some fun stories. We're going to go over Tucker Carlson versus the bait guy, the Montana man. That's what it is. Montana man. We got MyPillow guy, of course, one of my favorite people to have to talk about, the MyPillow man. And then we've got more sad news from COVID-19, of course, people having regrets. And then Fox News wants to ban childless libs from having any political power. So, fun times. So we're going to have a good show today, but I just wanted to start out with the whole Monday thing. So I don't know, like, the I hate Mondays kind of comes from like, well, I mean, obviously from people hating Monday, but the popularized, I think, by what, Garfield? Was that what that was? Garfield? Anyway, why does a cat who sits around and eats lasagna all day, like, why does he hate Mondays? Like, I would love to do that. I would love to sit around, not do anything, and eat lasagna all day. Why do you hate Mondays? What the hell? I have to get up and work. And so, as all of us do, and to be fair, I do love my job. He has no reason to hate Mondays. None. Let's just get that out of the way. Okay. But anyway, I know, ridiculous conversation. Monday's my only day off, so I love it. Hey, all right. See, we do got somebody in here who enjoys Mondays. The chat going crazy. Welcome. Let's see. Glad the storm missed me. Are there still mass power outages in Michigan? No. Oh, no, there's not. Not that I know of. Again, well, other than Saturday, which was, pretty stormy, Sunday was pretty nice. This weekend was generally pretty nice. So there you go. I will use my extra child vote to vote for free lasagna for everyone. Yes. All right. Anyway, I can support that policy for sure. Have you liked the stream? That's a good question. Have you liked the stream? Very important that you do so. Anyway, let's start off. Let's get into the story here. We got Tucker Carlson, one of my favorite people to not talk about. We're going to do it anyway. Oh, and guess what? I forgot to change my sidebars. You know what that means? That means
there's insanity in the control room.
Of course. which then leads to
Who's got a hammer?
yeah. So let me just fix that real quick. We run a real professional show over here. We're doing it live here. We're doing it live. All right, so that was obviously the wrong one. So let's fix this, fix that, and actually do something somewhat professional. Hey, we're working on. We're doing it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. That's what we do here. These are all completely out of order. So that's great. I promise there will be a show. There will be a show. Okay. All right, let's see if that works here. That's interesting. All right, well, close enough. We'll figure it out. Jeff's producer is letting him down. I always let myself down. To be fair, you look at my life, and it's just like one letdown after another. If I could, I would be at my own funeral so I could let myself down one last time. Okay, anyway. I know. Disaster. Fox News host Tucker Carlson was recently confronted by a man in Montana while stocking up on fishing gear. That interaction, of course, has gone viral. Let's take a look.
I don't care, man. Dude, you are the worst human being known to man. I want you to know what you have done to this state, to the United States, to everything else in this world. I don't care that your daughter's here. What you've done to people's families, what you have done to everybody else in this world. Son, don't become a son for one.
All right, so, yeah, that's a little hard to hear. Basically, he went on to say, you are the worst human being known to man. Great. Awesome. I love it. Why? Because the guy's right. Tucker Carlson is indeed awful. Let's just say that. So now who's the guy that confronted him? Well, his name is Dan Bailey, not related to ironically, the Dan Bailey fishing shop or whatever shop that he was in. Of course, that store had to put out like a thing like, this guy, that Dan Bailey is not the Dan Bailey who founded this fishing store. We love Tucker Carlson, and we would never accept any of this happening at all. So we're not affiliated. Please come shop at our stores, Fox News viewers. But anyway, so now what happened here is the guy happened to be shopping when Tucker Carlson walks in, and he didn't want to miss the opportunity to tell Tucker Carlson how he feels about him to his face. Bailey posted this video then to his Instagram account on Friday and wrote, "It's not every day you get to tell someone they're the worst person in the world and really mean it." Hey, look, opportunity knocks only once in a lifetime, man. Or is it twice? I don't remember that lyric. But okay, anyway, fun. So what started this? There has to be a reason. Well, of course, it all goes back to, and we don't know the conversation earlier, but I'm pretty sure the conversation went back to vaccines and Tucker Carlson. In fact, here's what Bailey wrote on his Instagram. Quote, "This man has killed more people with vaccine misinformation. He has supported extreme racism. He is a fascist and does more to rip this country apart than anyone that calls themselves an American." Well, once again, 100%. Tucker Carlson has, of course, absolutely attacked vaccines, while ironically being vaccinated himself. Everybody who works at Fox News has to be vaccinated. They have a vaccine literal passport to get into the building, and yet Tucker Carlson attacks the efficacy of vaccines, and also previously had attacked the efficacy of masks as well. And we know why he does it. He does this for profit. He doesn't actually understand that Tucker Carlson does not believe the things that he says. No, Tucker Carlson, I know I'm going to get pushback from you. I think Tucker Carlson is a very smart guy. Of course, he's very smart. Now, being smart can come along with being other things, like a sociopath. And so he's a very intelligent person, and he knows how to walk the line. He is very good. Understand, he's very good at what he does. One of the biggest things that I see in the left is we tend to underestimate our opposition. You know, oh, maggot, you're stupid, you know, dumb hillbilly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's quite a few of those, but understand that those people get taken advantage of by the smart ones. By the smart ones who know how to manipulate people in order to get cash. That's what it is. Again, I'm seeing comments. Carlson is an actor for money. He doesn't believe anything he says. And depending on the particular show he's been on, he's had multiple viewpoints. 100% accurate as hell. And so he is, the truth about Carlson, again, is that he does this all for money. He knows exactly what to say. He's smart, incredibly well educated, and is also a fake populist. And that's what's really important. He's like, oh, I'm a populist. I care about the American people, except, you know, I'm literally saying things that could get that are getting the American people killed. Over 600,000 Americans have died of COVID. Now COVID-19 is now a disease of the unvaccinated. Okay. And so it's hitting unvaccinated people the hardest, the people who happen to listen to Tucker Carlson. But there's more, of course. Tucker Carlson's also a pipeline to white supremacy. And so, yes, I'm glad to see people calling him out. That said, the conservative freakout was absolutely swift. You could say that many on the right happen to have been triggered by this. Interesting. Starting with Fox News. Here's the statement they released. Ambushing Tucker Carlson while he was in a store with his family is totally inexcusable. No public figure should be accosted regardless of their political persuasion or belief simply due to the intolerance of another point of view, according to a Fox News spokesperson. Ambushing, that's interesting. It almost makes it sound like he was waiting for Tucker Carlson to pop out. Or I'm sorry, he was waiting for Tucker Carlson and then popped out and was like, oh, you're a horrible person. No, we noticed Carlson was like, I'm going to give him what for. I'm actually be honest about this. And so there's more. Of course, the ladies from The View. I'm gonna get to Meghan McCain later on, and I wish I had the video of all the hosts basically going, oh, how terrible, poor Tucker Carlson. But we'll have to settle for Meghan McCain's tweet, as well as the tweet from Charles Gasparino, who said, what's pathetic about the Twitter reaction is that the lefties think it's okay for this guy to harass Tucker Carlson while he's with his kid. Keep that in mind. I remember being sickened by the same type of behavior when it happened to Cuomo. This is no different. You realize... And so this is interesting because you're going to see this argument. I'm already seeing this argument. How dare you ambush someone with their kids? Tucker Carlson's kids are all adults. They're all 18 plus. They're not children anymore. This isn't the same as like, okay, you go into restaurant whatever and you start screaming and yelling and hollering at this person and their kid's sitting right next to him going, Daddy, why are you being so mean? Or why is that person being so mean to you, Daddy? I don't understand. Why are they saying such terrible things? No, that's not the situation here. It's a bullshit excuse. But understand that the language there is being used for a reason. It is there to evoke images of somebody being berated in front of young children. And that's what this is. But there's more. Meghan McCain decided that she was going to weigh in. She said, if you think accosting a public figure while they're shopping for fishing gear with their family on vacation is somehow accomplishing something or changing anyone's hearts and minds, you're a hypocrite and have totally lost the plot. How dare you interrupt my vacation? That's what I heard from Meghan McCain. Oh my God, I can't believe somebody would ever interrupt somebody on their vacation. Oh, how dare they? Oh my God, I can't believe it. That's Meghan McCain. All right. But here's the thing. Hold on, princess. Dan Bailey isn't there to change hearts or minds. No, he told Tucker off. It's an emotional release. It's not there to change hearts or minds. Do you think you're going to change the mind of Tucker Carlson? Again, Tucker Carlson, he's an actor. He knows exactly what he's doing. And so what he's going to do later on, and we'll probably see a segment tonight where he uses this to further weaponize his audience against libs, as if he hadn't already. But anyway, Now we got Ben Shapiro saying something similar. Finding someone you disagree with, shouting at them in public, and then posting it to the web to the wild cheers of blue-checked leftists isn't making the world better. It's making it way worse. Sorry to get my Ben Shapiro on. I had to channel him for a second, and it came a little too late. But all right, Ben, how does that make the world worse? Explain to me how it makes the world worse by challenging one of the biggest peddlers of vaccine disinformation. Sure, it doesn't make it better either, but it's an emotional release, and that was never the point. Blue check leftists, we enjoy this because it's cathartic. Let's be honest about this. Finally, somebody was able to tell him to his face that he's full of shit and dangerous. Wonderful. Now, here's the thing. Again, he already knows. So those takes, relatively tame. Again, all the ladies in The View agreed, and they're like, oh, it's disgusting if you think that this is okay. If you think this is okay, you're disgusting. All right, whatever. Ladies from The View, nobody cares. But here's Dinesh D'Souza with probably the most unhinged take. Here's what he's tweeted. This is a shocking video. This man should be arrested for what he did. Tucker Carlson did to Tucker Carlson in front of his daughter. His what, over 18-year-old daughter? Come on, man. Hey, what about free speech, Dinesh? Apparently, Dinesh D'Souza is okay with people being arrested for expressing different political opinions in public to someone who disagrees with them. Weird. But Jeff, don't you understand? He was harassing this grown man in front of a child. In front of his child. Okay. Remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene literally harassed a student from Parkland as he was walking down the street? A child. Remember when MAGA chuds tried running a campaign bus for Biden and Harris off the road? No, here's the best one yet. And this has to do with children, okay? Remember when Tucker Carlson said this about people who were wearing masks? Take a look.
So the next time you see someone in a mask on the sidewalk or on the bike path, do not hesitate. Ask politely but firmly, would you please take off your mask? Science shows there is no reason for you to be wearing it. Your mask is making me uncomfortable. We should do that, and we should keep doing it until wearing a mask outside is roughly as socially accepted as lighting a Marlboro in an elevator. It's repulsive. Don't do it around other people. That's the message we should send because it's true. As for forcing children to wear masks outside, that should be illegal. Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart. Call the police immediately. Contact Child Protective Services. Keep calling until someone arrives. What you're looking at is abuse. It's child abuse, and you are morally obligated to attempt to prevent it.
Ooh. Boy, did that age poorly. So, okay, according to Tucker Carlson's logic, if it's child abuse, you need to intervene. It's your moral duty. Well, okay, children can't be vaccinated right now, okay? They can still get sick. In fact, there's a new report comes out just earlier today. More children are now suffering from long-haul COVID. They can and do get sick, and yes, they can and do still die. At still much lower rates than adults, understand, but if you're out there peddling anti-vax bullshit to people who are eligible to get vaccinated right now, i.e. adults, people over 12 years old, well, guess what? You're putting children at risk, aren't you? And so, hey, therefore, according to your logic, this man is doing exactly what you told him to do. To go out and challenge people, politely, of course. And so I don't see the problem. I don't see the problem. Of course, you know, they're never going to admit it. Because here's the thing. This is all about grievance. How dare you approach the great Tucker Carlson with anything other but reverence? How dare you challenge me in my ideas? How dare you call me out on my bullshit? I will now be aggrieved and will have my fans call for your literal arrest. If that's not fashy, I don't know what is. Damn. All right. 20 minutes on Tucker Carlson. That's a record. I felt like there were some things that needed to be said, but let's move on to the next. And boom. There we go. Fascistic. Yeah. All right. So let's move on. Let's go to MyPillow CEO, Mike Lindell. MyPillow CEO, really? Wow. MyPillow CEO, or Mike Lindell, or Mike Pillow. Let's start that over again. That's a disaster. What a disaster today. There is insanity in the control room. I will be able to talk. Trust me. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, or Mike Pillow, as I like to call him, he has a brand new prognostication. He wants you all to listen to this. Take a look.
I talk to Democrats and liberals too, and they see the bad things that are going on. And it's not when I talk about Democrat, I'm not talking about the Democrat Party. I'm talking about Democrats that a lot of them felt there were even people at this in New Hampshire there that actually made a mistake, and they're going, if I'd have known this now what I know then, because they invited it, it was kind of pretty much open to public, and there was a lot of people there that had, regrets that they wish they would have known more before they voted. I said, you didn't know about this, but you thought you were voting for something. I said, you didn't get to vote. I said, you didn't get to vote. China did our vote, and we're going to show that at the symposium. And, but I said, the hope there, Steve, the three of them I talked to, and this was outside the hotel, that they actually didn't come into the actual event, but they were there to tell me how they felt horrible, that they almost feel responsible for what's happened to our country. And I said, no, this was an attack on our country. They're seeing now firsthand what government can do and how bad socialism and communism can be. And this is so I think it's a big eye opener, which is going to help everything when we get through this, and the Supreme Court pulls down this election, like I've been telling everybody. When they do this, it's going to be a great uniting, and that gives me hope right there. These are Democrats on the ground that voted for Biden, and they realize now the mistake that they feel responsible, but they're seeing in power. And once we show them that it was China, the CCP, that used the Democrat Party. Once we had the symposium, Steve, I told these people, I said, you know what? I said, well, how are the pathways of Donald Trump coming back? And I said, well, the first one would be once we have the symposium by the night of the 12th or the morning of the 13th, if everyone has seen it, including the administration that's in there now that didn't win, maybe, Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. And I'm serious. If you have any moral character about you, we're all in this together, and this was an attack, and you're going to see that at this symposium. It's all going to be, everything will be revealed there.
Okay, that's enough of that. I mean, hey, guys, I'm super serious, guys. I'm super serious. Man Bear Pig will totally invalidate the election. Biden and Kamala, they will resign, and the Supreme Court shows that the Man Bear Pig is super real. I am super duper serial about this, guys. Come on. Embarrassing. This is embarrassing. He went on. I had to cut things out. But he's like going on for like 4 or 5 minutes, saying the same thing. Oh, the Democrat. I talked to a couple of Democrats, but not the Democrats. But I actually talked to some Democrats. His source was 3 supposedly alleged Democrats or Biden voters. Believe it or not, there's a small group of people that claim to ostensibly be on the left that are spreading conspiracy theories about the election fraud in 2020. They compare this to the 2020 primary, 2016 primary. Understandable, that's a different process. If we're talking about rigging an election, to me, depending on your definition, rigging an election means changing the votes and stuffing the ballots. That's to me. And as far as that's concerned, there's no evidence of that happening during the general election or during the primary. Now, funny enough, you could say, okay, in one election or both elections, if you want to make the point that there are certain people that put their thumb in the scale, now that is certainly a much, much better argument than the election was stolen and rigged and different. So one of the biggest things is the media. The media have to play a big role in both primary elections and the general election, of course. And so media biases against candidates do have an effect on voting. Now, I tend to think that actually does constitute putting your thumb on the scale. The establishment, of course, put their thumb on the scale for Trump in 2016, giving him billions and billions of dollars in free media. And then in 2020, put their thumb on the scale against Trump with all the negative reporting and even some that just ignored outright Trump events. And negative reporting includes, of course, things that are factual, like his response to COVID-19. It was a disaster, his numerous scandals throughout his presidency, etc. My point is, in making that comparison, notice how none of that stuff is actually illegal to do. You can legally put your thumb on the scale in an election or a primary. That's not considered illegal. What is illegal, of course, is changing votes, throwing out ballots, stuffing, ballot boxes, things like that. That stuff, election fraud and voter fraud, is technically illegal. And again, we have no evidence of any of that happening. In fact, the Arizona case is not going well for Republicans. The cyber ninjas or whatever are not having a good time finding the fraud because it turns out there's no fraud to find. Sad. So I don't quite understand why these people that claim to be on the left, some of them say, oh no, this election was definitely rigged against Donald Trump and that Biden is not the real president. That's crazy. Crazy. And again, this is coming from somebody who's Biden, whose choice Biden, I'm sorry, who Biden was not the first choice of. Okay. I wanted Bernie Sanders. So anyway, okay. So let's go back to this, right? Now Lindell is a true believer. He's a grifter. And he's possibly on drugs. I mean, I can't say that for certain. But boy, when somebody goes on about that for about 3-4 minutes, you start to think, maybe there's some crack involved. I'm just saying. Now, again, he's out here saying insane things. First, it was going to be the documentary that he came out with that fell flat. Then it's going to be the Supreme Court, and I guess it still is the Supreme Court. Now it's the symposium where he's got all the evidence and he's finally going to reveal it all, even though it was supposed to have been revealed during the other thing that he was doing, and then this and that, and then somehow Biden is going to resign and Harris, which will leave President Nancy Pelosi, which I'm sure they would be really, really thrilled about, right? No, this is a right-wing fever dream. And it's basically, like, it's based on nonsense, for one, and they don't even know how the process works. Okay, Biden and Harris resign, and you get President Pelosi. How does that help you at all? My God, man. It's nuts, but understandable. It pays very, very well. Understand that, like, Trump and people aligned to him have been raising so much money, and they've been really, really good at raising money. Trump himself has raised about $75 million from his followers, and to put towards a PAC that purports to fight against election fraud, which hasn't actually spent a dime fighting against election fraud and supporting these challenges. Oops. Not in Arizona, and not in any other state. Oops. Here's what's going on. They're using your anger to take you for a ride. The ride, of course, ends with them being incredibly rich and you still being angry and giving them money. This is what happens when you weaponize, well, maybe not weaponize, but you exploit real legitimate anger of our political process. Is our political process perfect? No. No, there's a lot of issues with our so-called American democracy. The fact that we live in an oligarchy, okay? And we really don't have any say For example, Medicare for all. A majority of people, Americans, want universal health care. Would be fine with Medicare for all or a public option. We just want something, right? And more people would go for a public option right now than Medicare for all. I think Medicare for all, I know Medicare for all is actually the superior policy because it actually does better. It does everything better. It does everything cheaper. And yes, I'm talking about expanded Medicare for all, the Bernie Jayapal bill that gets brought up and then never voted on. Because, of course, there are people that don't want to bring it to the floor. There are people that are not interested in pissing off their donors in the healthcare industry. And so you've got things like that. You've got things like the $15 minimum wage, a living wage, which should be $25 an hour, that don't even get brought up in our Congress. And so, yes, that gets people feeling really powerless because guess what? In a lot of ways, we are. And yet there are people that will come, both left and right, that will weaponize this anger, use this anger in order to force non-solutions. Because really, the only solutions we see, are really difficult to see. And so it leaves us in a really angry spot, in a really vulnerable spot for people who like to grift. And that's what this guy is. He is grifting conservatives and saying, send me money, support me, watch my stuff, come buy tickets to my symposium so that, I can basically tell you the things that you want to hear, that you got cheated, you were wrong, so I can keep making money. That's what it's all about, unfortunately. Voter fraud. The voter fraud! Stop the boat! I don't know why I said stop the boat. Let me off the boat. All right. We need to find a way to convey to Biden allowing the filibuster is undermining his presidency. Unfortunately, he's not going to listen. But, okay, like Joe Biden, again, I don't know how much, it's not even knocking, it's a statement of fact here. Joe Biden doesn't want anything to change. He promised his donors nothing will fundamentally change. A fundamental change would be removing the filibuster. A fundamental change would be stacking the Supreme Court. All of these things are necessary to get past Republicans. But this is somebody who is so entrenched in the way things are that he is giving up his own possibility of having an incredible legacy and actually being able to do things because he doesn't want to upset that system. That system that happens to have propelled him into the presidency. So I don't really think that's a big surprise that he's going to preserve what kept him, or what propelled him into power. And so it's one of those things where we can't really count on Joe Biden to do things on his own that need to be done. And nothing, again, will fundamentally change. And I've said this, and people, for some reason, people come to me and they're, or maybe not come to me, but I like see stuff all the time where it's like, oh, Biden promised this, promised that. He's a politician. They promise a lot of things. But overall, what Biden tells his donors and what all these politicians tell their donors is generally the way that they're going to go behind closed doors. So what they tell them behind closed doors is what they do out in the open. Biden was the right-wing counterbalance to Obama's progressive. True. That's very true. Biden cares too much about his Republican friends, his words. Joe Biden can't do things without help with from other Democrats. That's also true. There is balance. There are, I don't know, this shit gets super complicated. But like, policy does not play a big role. And even the right kind of policy does not play a big role in what happens in Washington. A lot of it has to do with loyalty, allegiances, money, of course, donations, power. It gets incredibly complicated. And, none of that stuff should matter at all. The only thing that should matter is the policies. Unfortunately, it matters too much because it gets in the way of getting policy done. And it's sad. I'm just a guy out here that wants fucking health care and good wages. Like, is that too much to ask? Joe Biden is sabotaging the party for bipartisanship. We are type F'd. And I don't even know. I mean, I could say that, all this stuff. I don't really know what's in the guy's head. But, what matters is what he does and what he does not do. And really, what he has not done is, cancel student loan debt, which he could absolutely do today. He hasn't pushed for, to fight for minimum wage. That could be in the latest reconciliation bill. It's not. It's not. That's infrastructure. I can see where Biden is trying to fix the government by trying to be bipartisan, but it's not going to work. Not in time to fix things and help people, and not with the majority of the GOP still following Trump. So, like, not only that, but here you have the Republican Party that's never been, as far as I know, amicable to actually getting things done. Not in a big way. It sucks. All right. Anyway. And it sucks because one more thing is we warned that people were going to go to brunch, and they absolutely went to brunch. So that sucks. And yeah, right now in the history books, Biden will go down as the do-nothing president, and of course we've got a do-nothing Congress that literally doesn't want to do anything, and they're allowing the filibuster to, to be in the way so they don't do anything. It sucks. Oh, this is terrible. Which is why I will depress you slightly less with this next story. COVID. Yay. Isn't that great? A formerly vaccine-hesitant mother is imploring people in Alabama to get vaccinated after experiencing some pretty personal tragedy. So now, the mother is Christy Carpenter, and she points out the fact that her son, 28-year-old Kirk Carpenter, was otherwise healthy and initially had believed that COVID-19 was a hoax. She and other family members were also hesitant to get vaccinated because they believed that the vaccine was created too quickly. Carpenter is now suffering from long-haul COVID herself, while Kurt died on May 2nd after spending 2 months on a ventilator. His last words were reportedly, quote, "This is not a hoax. This is real." Devastating. Absolutely devastating. Now, look, so let me get to the two important talking points here. Okay. For one, vaccine is a hoax. Or, I'm sorry, not vaccine, but COVID-19 is a hoax. Well, we know where that came from. We hear it from the right wing all the time. Politicians, you had Donald Trump, you had members of the conservative media who have told people, oh, don't worry, COVID-19, not real. It's all political. It's all made up. Democrats, China, Wuhan, don't worry. Even if you get this, it's just like the flu. If you're young and healthy, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Did you notice that they have all sorts of mixed messaging, by the way? Like, they don't have a unified message. It's just throwing shit at the wall and, trying to figure out what sticks. Okay? So now, the guy was 28 years old, apparently young and healthy, according to his mother, and understand that that's important because that is the demographic that has fueled the surge in cases and in deaths. This is not old people in the hospital, 50 and 60 years old, 70-year-old, 80-year-old, whatever. No, this is mainly people in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Relatively young people. This is a group that conservatives have long convinced. Conservative media said, oh, don't worry, you don't need the vaccine. You're young and healthy. You'll be fine. Well, it turns out, no, they're not. That's not happening. Now, the other talking point I've heard is unfortunately from even, smart people. And that's, oh, well, the vaccine was rushed. It came out too fast. It's experimental. Okay. So now this came out during the Trump administration, and I'll admit, I said, whoa, I'm not sure if I trust that. But then I realized I was being a dipshit. And guess what? When you're dumb, when you have a dumb take and you realize that it's a dumb take, you can go back, and this is the beautiful thing. You can go back and say, okay, that was really dumb. I now have the facts. I've looked up the facts. Turns out this thing wasn't rushed at all. I mean, as far as the science goes, okay, yes, Russian development to get in as many, in as many people's arms as possible. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you need during a crisis, during an emergency. So now the thing is that you should remember as well is that no politician had any part of this vaccine. Why? Well, it's because it actually went fast. Like if politicians were in charge of it, we'd still be waiting on a vaccine, to be fair. But okay, scientists came up with this vaccine. Scientists that use public funding, public research on mRNA, for example, has been around for about 3 decades. These vaccines are based on that. And, when you consider how long we've actually been looking at that and how many resources that were thrown behind this vaccine, billions of dollars, the top scientific minds, and of course, basis in research that we had already had. And yeah, it turns out it's not that much of a rush when you've got this massive amount of resources behind it. You can do things. It turns out we as a country can do some amazing things if we actually set our minds to it and our resources. Imagine, for example, what would happen if we actually turned our full attention towards eliminating hunger or homelessness or implementing single-payer healthcare or doing something about climate change. That's a better comparison. These things are possible because we have the resources and the minds to do it. This is actually a pretty good success story of how fast we can get this done and do great things if we focus on doing the great things. And in this case, again, it was an emergency. And the reason that there were so many resources behind it is incentive, right? Well, the donors, politicians, they didn't want to, shut down the country. So get things out as fast but as safe as possible. And I get that. And so as far as safety is concerned, well, we've already had millions of vaccines that were administered already safely with a minimum of adverse reactions. And so that's good. And it turns out the odds are you're much more likely to get COVID without a vaccination, and it's much more likely to be severe. And so, and compare that, of course, to the very minimal chance of having an adverse reaction with the shot. It's almost like it's much harder to get COVID-19 when you've had a vaccine, which is the whole point of the vaccine. Just think about it that way, okay? Now, what's interesting is earlier saw today, because conservative media also goes about, breakthrough shots or breakthrough infections, right? Oh my God, so you get the COVID vaccine and you get COVID anyway, so what's the point? Okay, well, let me give you some numbers here. Turns out symptomatic breakthrough of cases of COVID-19 are incredibly rare. They actually represent about 0.98% of the nation's vaccinated population, according to an unpublished CDC document obtained by ABC News. The internal documents reportedly determined that roughly 152,000 symptomatic breakthrough cases have occurred as of last week, while more than 156 million Americans are fully vaccinated, meaning, again, if you do math, 0.098% are reporting more severe infections. So, very, very unlikely to get COVID-19. That comes with symptoms if you had the vaccine. So just do it. Now back to Christie, right? So now she has a message for Alabama, which is currently America's least vaccinated state, with about 33.9% of eligible adults that are fully vaccinated. And vaccinated people also, by the way, account for more than 95% of current COVID hospitalizations in Alabama. Here's what she said, quote, "It took watching my son die and me suffering the effects of COVID for us to realize we need the vaccine. We did not get vaccinated when he had the opportunity, and I regret that so much now. If Kurt were here today, he would make it his mission to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. Kayla, his sister, and I are carrying out that mission in his memory. If we can help people, help keep people healthier and possibly save lives by encouraging others to take the vaccine, and Kurt's death was not in vain. Life is a precious gift from God." So, you know what else is a gift? Our intellect. That intellect went on to create vaccines. Just say, look, here's the thing, all right? So Christy and I are absolutely united in purpose. This story is not to rag on her for making bad decisions. No, it's to actually show that this thing is real. And to show that people who do not get vaccinated are suffering. And that these people are sharing their story to say, please, 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 don't do what I did. Don't do what I did or we did. Get the vaccine. There is something available now that will help you and that could save your family. Please do so. Take it from the people who used to not be believers. Because it turns out that COVID-19 has a real interesting way of making you into a believer. That it is real, that it's not a hoax, that it is deadly, and that you should get vaccinated. All right. So before I go into the next story here, I just want to give some shout outs. This is like the equivalent of the UIT social break. Let's see. Let's go back here. One Winged Dragon, thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1. 5 months, thank you. Always Dragon 61, thank you for cheering 100 bits. Tempadan, thank you for giving out the 2 tier 1 subs. Appreciate that. Okay. Shisalion Dog. I don't think I said that right. Cheered 100 bits. Thank you. Granny Dragon, thank you for cheering 100 bits. Thank you for all the new follows. Rob Lobster 120, thank you for cheering 100 bits. Appreciate that. Bravo Needs Bacon, thank you for the 10 bits. And thank you for the new follows. Appreciate that. You're all amazing. All right. Let's go over here to the thing. The thing that does the stuff. I'm very, very descriptive in my language.
There's insanity in the control room.
All right. Let me just find that so I can give a shout out to Super Chat on YouTube, which never seems to work in my things. All right. Oh, Elbow, thank you for that $5. Glad you had a good weekend. All right. Awesome. So yeah, thank you everybody. Please make sure to follow us if you want more stories. Also like the stream on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on Twitch. All right. Best audience ever. Absolutely. Jeff News, I pressed the thing to make the thing do things.
It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
I pushed the thing. All right. Somebody's going to clip and ship that. I can see it happen. All right. Fox News hosts on Sunday had promoted the idea that childless Americans should not be allowed to vote. So now, let me give you some context into this before I show you the clip. Originally, this idea came from Ohio Republican Senate candidate J.D. Vance. You know, the hillbilly elegy or hillbilly hypocrite, as I like to call him. Here's what he told a conference on the future of American political economy. Quote, let's give votes to all children in the country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of the children. Well, now, wait a minute. So if you have a lot of kids, so, you know, you got 4 or 5 kids, what does that mean, that suddenly they get 4 or 5 votes? Is that voter fraud? Stop voter fraud. Here we go. No. Okay, anyway. So now, what about the people who choose or are unable to have children? Well, it looks like they're at a disadvantage. But nonetheless, I'm going to show you the video of this conversation, and we'll break it down.
I think it's an interesting idea. I'm into interesting ideas. Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. He's saying childless leaders are making decisions that are short-term in mind, not focused on the long-term future health of this country because they don't have a stake in the game. Parents have a stake in the game. They have children, so give parents a bigger say.
That means Rachel would get 9 votes.
I would
exactly
get a
right.
lot of votes.
Right.
But you know what? I don't know if his solution, I don't know about that solution. That seems not feasible. But I will say I agree with the premise of it, that it is absolutely true that people like AOC, Pete Buttigieg, you can name the left-wing politicians, people who think that we should legalize marijuana because they don't have kids and they don't really have a stake in what that looks like, you know, or don't have the experience enough with children to know what it looks like when you normalize marijuana. By the way, we had a great segment yesterday, the D.C. police chief saying, absolutely, marijuana has a lot to do with the rise in violent crimes that we're seeing in D.C., and we had an expert talk about how it leads to psychosis, et cetera.
Okay. I had to stop there because the marijuana thing, what are you talking about? Oh, marijuana leads to psychosis. No, it doesn't. That's literal 1950s, you know, boomer, like, you know, reefer madness bullshit. Dumb. So dumb. But oh no, they're not done yet. There's more dumb.
Our society 100%. Stem from that breakdown. Ultimately, that's looking at it through the lens of the actual solution, which is the family unit. If
That's right.
If so many of the ills that we have in our society
100%.
Stem from that breakdown. Ultimately, I agree with you. Not a feasible policy, but what it is in principle is a reflection of the fact that what Ronald Reagan said: freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You don't pass it to the next generation in the bloodstream. It has to be inculcated. And if you're Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, our favorite comrade, and you've said the world's going to end in 12 years, what do you care? First of all, you wouldn't have kids because why would you give the world to them?
And she said that. And by the way, she said that.
Prince Harry and Meghan, I'm only going to have two kids because of this. It's this idea of absolute pessimism that the world's going to end, and as a result, we're the problem, don't have kids. Having lots of kids is a reflection of optimism. It is. Societies that stop, demographics really do matter. Societies that stop having lots of kids don't believe in themselves. And the left thinks America's an evil place, so why would they have those kids? And then what future are they handing to our kids who do believe America's a special place, being led down that road by people who have no stake in the game?
What? All right, so look, there's a lot of stupid to break down from both of those videos. So for one, they talk about the childless leaders, right? Oh, you got the Pete Buttigiegs and you got the AOCs. Well, okay, for one, this goes back to culture war. Immediately, who do they point out? Who do they single out? Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is gay. Yeah, of course he's not having kids. Well, or at least he's not having kids in the natural, Fox News approved way. And then, of course, you have AOC. So now, for AOC, I think their entire view is, look at this female not sitting home and having babies. Total Ferengi attitude. Okay, but here's the thing. What does that have to do with marijuana? What does that have to do with climate change? Which, by the way, climate change, a lot of these policies that they're talking about will impact children more so than us. Okay. And here, you know what? I do have some examples of how legalizing cannabis will also affect children. Okay. It would actually keep a lot of people out of prison. I mean, Bill O'Reilly and Fox News love to say, "Oh, we're the black fathers. We're the black fathers." Well, you locked them up in prison for having pot, dipshit, at a higher rate than white offenders who do the same thing. And then they go back to AOC. Oh, she's a communist. She's my favorite comrade. She's not even a socialist. Calm down. I know. A communist, Marxist, socialist are all interchangeable now to people on Fox News. It basically just means anything that they don't like or anyone that they don't like. But all right. And then, but here's the thing. AOC is calling for a Green New Deal to help fix climate change for the next generations. Not just for her generation, the next generation. And so that's what this is. Understand that this is all projection, okay? Again, if you're AOC, you're a favorite comrade, and you said the world is going to end in 12 years, what do you care? Well, then why would she be putting out, or at least promoting policies that are green policies designed to reduce pollution and also try to stem the tide of climate change? Why do that? Why do that? I mean, this is insane, okay? Nobody is saying that. What we're saying is we should do some policy stuff to try to fix this mess. And we need to fix it not just for us, but for the next generation. It is 100% projection, and here's why, okay? There's a significant portion of right-wingers, the religious right, that are convinced at any moment Jesus is going to come up and hoover him up into heaven. The so-called rapture, which, by the way, as one of my evangelical friends, yes, I'm friends with an evangelical progressive. Wrap your head around that one. They do exist. And he's like, that's not even in the Bible. You realize that, right? Like, that whole rapture thing is just nonsense. Coming from an evangelical, that's important. No, nobody's going to come hoover people up into heaven. All right? But again, if you think that way, if you think that's going to happen any minute now, well, then why would you do anything about the climate? Why? Jesus is going to suck me up into heaven. Who cares? The climate, I'm just going to I'm just going to throw my wrappers down on the ground. Who cares? Jesus. Not only that, but for example, like the Fox News audience, we know they're pretty old, okay? If you have an audience that is like 20 years, got 20 years left tops on this planet, and might be slightly inconvenienced or be convinced that they would be slightly inconvenienced by like maybe having to pay an increased tax rate or whatever, but we do something about climate change, or maybe they don't care, or maybe of course they've been propagandized, they bought into the lies from fossil fuel companies, then you're not going to be interested in doing anything. All right, but then they say, oh no, it's the libs who are wrong. And by the way, childless liberals, it's probably one of the funniest things I've heard. As if nobody who identifies as liberal or leftist has a family or has kids. That's absurd. And they added, by the way, it's the Marxists that want to destroy the family. And so the biggest social ill, I think as Hegseth pointed out, to them is, it's the breakdown of the family. Which essentially means, by the way, gay people bad. That's what they're doing. Okay. And so they say Marxists want to destroy the family. How? What do Marxists want to do? Well, we want to give people health care. We want to give people child care so they can work. It turns out 4-day work weeks pushed by leftists, so-called Marxists, right? Pretty good for families because you can actually spend more time with them. I know, it's crazy. It's leftists, Marxists that push for weekends, for family leave, higher wages so you can actually raise a family on one income. That is nothing the modern Republican Party does. It's nothing. They don't stand for any of that. They don't push for any sort of pro-family, really actual pro-family policies. No, here's what they want to do. They want to cut food stamps. They've tried many times. The benefits of which the majority of which benefit children. They want to cut taxes for the rich. I guess that helps rich children. I mean, that's why they're against the estate tax, I guess. Oh yeah, those rich kids, and we want to make sure that they're set up really, really well with daddy's fortune. They want to keep wages for workers low. They want to keep workers working for longer hours, less regulation on business, which can lead to more accidents, more deaths, people dying at work. I've seen Fox hosts even talk about bringing back child labor. No, this is bullshit. When Republicans talk about family, it is only to hate gay and trans people. That is literally it. That's the only thing that they're so-called pro-family on, which isn't even pro-family. It's unbelievable how pathetic they are. What happened to family values when it comes to maternity, paternity leave? To be fair, Meghan McCain now thinks maternity leave is great because, because she needs it. It's disgusting. This is Fox News for you. My daughter is why I'm so is the reason why I'm so far left and care about the environment. Hell yes. And by the way, later on they talked about having a family really changes your perspective. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know that for certain. I don't have I don't have any kids, but I do hear that a lot. And for a lot of people, it just furthermore cements the need that we need to do something to make a better future for our families. So, I mean, no, they're simping for billionaires again. I shouldn't say that word. I'm going to get banned on Twitch for that. But you know how it is. That's what they do. They only care about billionaires and, sucking up to them and making sure, that only the rich people get it. Get all the benefits. Yeah, I know, TOS. Damn it, I hate that. I keep doing that. Don't ban me, Twitch. It was an accident. All right. Anyway, thank you for sticking around. Appreciate that. We're going to raid in to another channel here. Thorum13, thank you for signing up to be a supporter. Appreciate that. Let's see. We're going to do that. Let's see. We could do a Serfs raid. We could do left flank vets. Lumi. Could do that. So yeah. Let me get your suggestions on that. Twitch audience where you'd like to go. That term is only acceptable in just chatting and hot tub streams. You know where the great top tier content is. I actually have no problem with hot tub streams. I don't really care. I mean, like, hey man, if you can make it chatting in a hot tub, good for you. You're living the dream. You're living the life. Doesn't affect me at all. Surfs raid. All right. Let's do it up. And by the way, before you go, please make sure to follow us for more content. We do this just about every day. So please give us a follow and check us out 4 p.m. Eastern pretty much every day here on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. All right, everybody. Thank you. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
There's some words in this app. Wet ass keyword.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Give me a break.
Please clap.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.